Good evening. How are you? Well, I'm getting out late because I did the RE show, and I'm kind of surprised that there's still daylight. And although I swam earlier, I have excess energy to get rid of, so I thought I'd go for a walk. I dodged some rain, and right now it's fine. So Thomas Jefferson would say it's a chilly 72 degrees this evening, and there's no wind to speak of, and the sun is getting ready to go take a rest. So that's that. I could extend a few remarks about what we talked about with Ari on the beat this evening at MSNBC. First of all, I thought Ari put together a powerful presentation. They call them readers when the host speaks for some time about a subject that becomes further discussed in panels afterwards. And so Ari started out with a reader in the first section, the A block as they call it, and then I was in the B block. And in the first block, what Ari set forth was what I later called the Trump crime family, meaning this isn't just Trump. There's a lot of other people who should know better, and as lawyers who should do better, and they're not. Now, I'm kind of unaware, perhaps because I like Ari, I'm kind of unaware of some of the guests he's had on that upset others. And I can't speak to all of them because I haven't heard all of them. But, you know, when I think of Navarro, I think he was a real find because he was such an innocent in a way, even as he was committing these crimes, that he saw nothing wrong with describing it. I called him Hans Navarro. And he had a characteristic of challenging the misdemeanor for failing to appear to Congress. He would use his hands and he wouldn't wear a jacket and so forth. So, and then there was a lawyer who represented Trump in the Carroll case, and Ari brought him on, and I thought he mastered him. Now, one time early on in my relationship with the show, we were sitting together, I think in DC, and it was a panel, and Ari had laid before him all of the different statements he was going to make at different parts of the show. And he said, "So, John, you think this is easy? You think you could just do this?" Now, I didn't take it as a test, but I decided to answer it as honestly as I could. And I said, well, there are things I could do. I said, but I couldn't interview some of the people you interview because I'd want to pound them into the ground. And I didn't get much of a reaction from him. But it was that I think I would lose my skills to take somebody I disagreed with apart. Now, having said that, Ari leads these people to their own slaughter, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But that's the risk of creating a tension with a guest. So anyhow, I have thought over the long run, this goes back to the 2016 election, that Ari is the real deal, that he really cares about these issues. And I think he believes that given a chance with these other people, he can give them a chance to say who they are, and that will reveal a person that we disagree with. Now, others of you may have different interpretations. I admit, like you, that there are some voices, if I hear them, I have to turn it off. I can't pay attention. Frankly, Trump is one of those voices. I'm sure that's true for you. And I listen out of discipline to know what he's saying so I can rebut or criticize it when that's appropriate. So the overarching message, I think, out of this evening's show on the beat was what I don't see enough of, which is to directly challenge these people, not to respond. Yeah, respond, sure, fine, but originate the accusations. That is, members of the House, elected officials who are lawyers, who are basically misrepresenting the proceeding. They are defying separation of church and state. They defy separation of powers between branches of the government. They defy the differences between the federal government and the state when they attack Bragg. And then they go one step further when they say, when we win the election, if we do, we're going to go after this guy Bragg and we're going to prosecute him. Now, if you want everybody to be treated the same, you would treat him the way Trump was treated. That is, he had a fair trial. He got to comment on who was on the jury. He had an opportunity to speak. He decided not to do it. That's his business. There were defenses he could have presented. He didn't present any of them. He spent his energy instead trying to run down the institution, given to me the thinking that he saw no way to declare his innocence because he knew he wasn't. And he wanted to be a martyr for this ragtag bench of ignoble people. And to do that, he had to go the distance. And then he had to find a way to say, put me in jail. And we know that's not true for him any more than his statement that he wants to talk. He wants to talk about the case. Now, we had those who believed in monarchy and so forth from the beginning of this nation. Hamilton was one of those. Adams was another. And Adams paid the price for his alien sedition laws and so on. And they set such a bad standard that Jefferson, by the two terms that succeeded after Adams, had eliminated those people who believed in monarchy. And so they had to founder for a while. I think the desperation that we see by these officials who know better but do worse is because they see the whole thing melting. As I said on the air, July 11th is when he's sentenced, and only a few days later there's the Republican National Convention. And think about it. If this guy was sentenced to 4 years at that sentence, and that's your candidate, on what parallel universe is that a good thing? And if you're one of many congresspersons or among the few senators, what is your exposure when the head of your ticket is this criminal? And that's what he is. He's a criminal. He's been found to be a criminal. And you can say, there's going to be an appeal. There are no issues on appeal because his team did such a terrible job. And the question going forward is, look at the array of people who came within his ambit and did his calling, who have been convicted. And from the beginning, I said we would find ourselves at a place where, just like in Watergate, people were going to go down, and there'd be a lot of lawyers. There'd be the lawyers who investigated and prosecuted them, and the lawyers that went with Trump risked their life, their reputation, their career, and failed, and are slowly and quickly finding themselves in custody. Ask Steve Bannon. Ask Navarro. They're out there. So we should take heart from any journalist, any host, any political figure who did what Ari did tonight, and that is to say, this is what this case is really about. This is a profile about the Trump organized crime family. And we can't have this in America. We can't have people running down our court system. Now, I have in my time, both as a prosecutor and defense counsel, made motions about the irregularity of proceedings. Could we do more? Yes. But in the case of Trump, he got everything. He got everything that a person can get in our justice system. And he didn't use the opportunities he had to try to fight it. And now, afterwards, it's clear that what they hope to do is to so attack the court system that no one thinks it was genuine, that he was convicted for good and fair reasons for misconduct that basically was somewhat like his larger offenses, which was to deceive the public so he would be elected. And poster, he did win the election. And I happen to think that, putting aside Comey's missteps involving Hillary Clinton's so-called investigation, that Access Hollywood made Trump a loser if he couldn't find enough people to pretend it didn't matter. And he did, but he had to stop further bleeding by concealing what he was doing with these two women. So what am I to make of this? What I'm to make of it is life, politics, governing bodies are a lot messier than anyone ever teaches in a civics class. And if you don't read it and study it, or read the present history, which is what we call our newspapers, then we're not in a position to decide. But I see people responding to these walk and talks, and with an array of heightened experience and inexperience coming from different backgrounds. The people use their brains. They see the trends and they make judgments. So that's the difference between those who would have a monarchical society and those, you and I, who prefer a democratic society. And a democratic society is certainly imperfect, but it gives us a voice in which we can be wrong, but we should be striving to be right. And it's a voice that's going to be lost if Trump somehow or other puts together a victory on election night. Now, I expect he won't, but that is conditioned on people not losing heart, saying that what's going on here is not acceptable, that we cannot have people in Congress who run down our court system, particularly when the 10th Amendment to the Constitution reserved to the states the police power. They have no right to interfere in that. And No Jacket Jordan, who is unbelievably the chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the House, he is trying to do all sorts of things specifically aimed at saving Trump. These are not policy decisions. These are political decisions. These are not praiseworthy decisions. These are the gutless wonders trying to preserve for the presidency a man that should be in jail instead. So I just thought I'd add a couple of remarks because I'd gotten a few notes about it. But I think the trend line is good for us, but we have to sort of keep reeling it in. And the path I'm on is between grazing fields of animals and some trees, and I hope to be out tomorrow and to talk to you, and particularly if it doesn't rain. So all the best. Bye-bye.